Rama from ramascreen.com. Melissa, a big fan of yours. Can you talk a bit about this I guess passion project of what inspired it, and why do you pursue this, The Watcher in the Woods?
So The Watcher in the Woods was a movie, 1981, Disney, with Bette Davis, and I was obsessed with it. And I watched it over and over again with my sisters and my family. And when we were doing Sabrina, Heartbreak Films, mainly, this one right here, was constantly looking for projects for us to do on our summers off from the show. And so this was one of the projects she knew was just something I was a fan of. And
she would have been perfect for Jan when she was 20.
I would have been great for Jan. And so she was constantly trying to find projects for us to do on our off time. This was one of them. And she tried to track down the rights for 17 years and finally got Disney to give us the rights to do it. And so she, but at this point I was too old to play Jan and too young to play Mrs. Aylwood. So
although she really wanted to play Mrs. Aylwood with prosthetics.
Oh, that's right, I did.
It would have cost us a fortune. I mean, my entire budget.
Like I was thinking about Winona Ryder and Edward Scissorhands and how great she was as
but how much
herself older.
But she was only in that makeup for like one day.
Yeah, that's true.
This would have been
9 days.
This would have been the entire movie.
I was going to play the mom, and then I was like, I really don't want to have to act and direct, so let's not do that. So we ended up finding a wonderful woman to play the mom, and then I didn't have to do it.
This is for anyone or everyone, but this is especially Mr. Abbott.
Mr. Abbott.
Sorry, Mr. Abbott. In looking to reimagine, I like that choice of words, reimagine this and not copy it.
Mm-hmm.
What were some things you were looking for as strengths or as something that you definitely wanted to keep? / what did you want to maybe not avoid, but definitely maybe go back to the source material in the novel for?
A couple of things. Well, the first thing I wanted to preserve was the story itself. It's based on a 1976 young adult novel by Florence Engel Randall, and the 1980 movie does a nice job of telling that story. But it's a gothic story. It's really a ghost story. The one thing that I didn't want to preserve from the 1980 movie or wanted to deviate from was the ending of the 1980-81 movie. It goes a bit sci-fi. There's an alien involved, and it I won't say cracks genres, but it begins to mix them a little. I wanted to tell it as a straight gothic story, and to that end, I thought the biggest concern I had was who is the Watcher, what was the Watcher, what did they want, and why. Another thing I wanted to preserve was tone. I wanted it to be a straight gothic story, and as a lot of horror reboots or retellings happen these days, they tend to splatter a lot of blood, and I didn't want it to be a tale full of blood. I wanted it to be a tale of suspense, of shifting reality in your mind, and I thought the book did a good job of that. And one thing I wanted to keep from the book that we've talked about, and I think Melissa can talk more articulately than I can, but in the book, the forest, the woods are a very real character, more than they are in the 1980-81 movie. And I wanted to go back to that, the woods being a character in and of themselves.
Yeah, I think that one of the things Scott did that was so great was the family. He really preserved that family aspect. And as a director, trying to find those moments between sisters or between the lost Karen Aylwood, Mrs. Aylwood and Jan, like keep those relationships, really highlight those and make those important, and then have the Watcher be his own character. And that is the one major difference. Well, the two differences I would say actually with this movie is exactly what Scott just said, that it's a ghost story, not a sci-fi. I think also that you have, well, I don't know what my second one was. I was going to say, I'm getting confused.
The woods is a character?
The woods is a character. So having the woods be a character and giving the Watcher, making the Watcher different. So in this movie, the Watcher is very different than the original movie or the book. Because the book does lean towards that sci-fi thing. But I think that's what got muddled in the first movie, and that's why Disney had so many problems with the original and having to redo the ending so many times, is because it was always confusing or didn't play right. And so I think that he did an amazing job of streamlining the story and making it clear who the Watcher is, what it wants, and what's going on. So
we kept it a true ghost story.
And that's what was important. And what was really difficult for me directing was, and I'm sure for Scott writing also, was trying to make it a ghost story. This day and age, you're watching all these movies and I was trying to just find inspiration and research and whatnot. And it was hard to find movies that were just ghost stories, that aren't so scary and so that have something going on, but you don't know why it frightens you, but it frightens you. So I watched things like The Others and The Orphanage and a lot of Hitchcock. And it was hard to find them, though. I kept, like, just, what's a ghost story? I would talk to anyone, what's your favorite ghost story? And they'd be like, oh, Chainsaw Massacre. No. What's a ghost story, What's something that kids can watch and be scared of, but not going to give them nightmares, not going to give them a visual that's going to terrify them. But the one thing that did terrify my 10-year-old when we watched the original, right before we started production, we watched it. And we watched it together, and he was so terrified by the POV of the watcher that was something that I was like, well, we have to make, like, that was already important to me, but to see him respond to that, especially in this day and age when the audience is so sophisticated and used to these devices, and he's even watched Jaws numerous times, but he was still terrified by that POV perspective, and I was like, oh, that is so important in this movie. It's its own character. The camera is its own character.
Obviously, the first film resonated with a lot of fans and everything. What do you feel about your version is going to resonate the most with fans after viewing it?
Oh gosh, I think kind of what I just said. I think that feeling you get when you get scared, almost like a roller coaster. You get scared, but then you're like thrilled by it, and you're not like, oh, I wish I could unsee that. It's very much that feeling you get inside when you just jump and you don't know why you're jumping, but you're jumping because there was a loud noise and something crashed and the light went on or whatever.
Yeah, there are no heads severed in this.
No, there's no blood. No splash. There's a dirty pond.
But there are some really scary moments.
Yes.
That would, if you're.
But I really think people are going to go away with the characters. I think that they'll fall in love with Jan and with Mark. I think the two lead characters, the two teens, are so lovable, beautiful, talented. People are going to want to be them. They're going to. I think. Kids are going to want to look up to them, and I think that it's really going to be one of those movies like the original was, where families can sit down together and watch it.
Do you think it's what you don't see, almost, that could be scarier?
Well, that's it. The shifting of reality. What's real and what's not. I did an adaptation of Rosemary's Baby a couple years ago for NBC, and the master of that is Ira Levin. I'm sure no stranger to you, but he was the shifting of reality. What's real and what's not. And I think. To echo Melissa and Paula, that's why I think it will resonate with audiences, because you're putting characters you care about in jeopardy, and if you're going along with the ride for them and you're really scaring them on an emotional level, they'll love you forever.
Now, Melissa, this is kind of like your first horror movie as a director. Have you gotten the bug? Do you want to do more horror films?
I do and I don't. This is a special one, and this has been special to me for a very long time, and it's. I have to say, when I was researching and watching all those movies that I mentioned, I was doing it during daylight hours and having to put the movie down, like watching it on my iPad in a living room, and then having to put it down before sunset and go to dinner, and like come back and not watch it before bed.
when we were
ever since I've had kids, I'm like not into horror anymore. It freaks me out.
But when we were just prepping this movie in Wales, and we were in a hotel, she would call me. Can you come up and sit with me while we watch the rest of this movie?
I can't watch The Orphanage, like that movie. Oh gosh. But it was it was a lot of fun, and I would definitely love the opportunity to do it again. The first thing I ever directed outside of Sabrina or a kids show was a short film called Mute, which is now on iTunes. I finally figured out how to do that. And it's my sister. It stars my sister and Emily Deschanel. Gary Marshall has a little appearance in it. And it was, I don't know what the genre was exactly. We'd call it
it was a black comedy, actually.
Yeah, it was a black comedy. So it takes place at a wedding, and this little sister who's deaf and mute wants to kill her sister at her own wedding. So that was really fun and storytelling for me. But it was also a movie that was kind of confusing, and I kind of wanted audience to come away from it going, wait, what just happened? So this felt like the next step from that, even though it's been 10 years.
But the next one, we're working on another independent feature called Thicker. That's kind of a warped, maybe more Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah, it's got that kind of feel, which I'm a big fan of his stuff. So it's not outside of the realm of stuff I enjoy. It's just outside the realm of what people know me for.
Great.
Hi, I'm Leanne Bradwell from Rubens Ramblings. Can can you talk a little bit about the casting process? You got Angelica Houston, and then you obviously got some talented newcomers playing kids. Can you talk a little bit about that process?
Good. Well, when we work on projects like this, we put together wish lists. Who do we want? What do we think? So on top of my list was Angelica Houston, and she said yes. I mean, that was fairly simple. We had a fantastic script, sent it off to her, and she's like, "Yeah, I'll do this." And we were like, "Oh my God, okay, that's great."
And then I freaked out. Yeah, now I have to direct her. But the rest of the cast, we did casting in London, and even some of the day players are people from Downton Abbey and Doctor Who, and because we filmed in Cardiff, but we cast in London, and like it was just
an amazing
cast. They were all so easy to work with. Everyone gave 110%. It was
but
amazing.
everybody auditioned, and no matter how small the part was or how big the actor was, they all auditioned.
And we had the original. So in our movie, the teenage boy is Mark, but in the original it was Mike. And the guy who played Mike was Benedict Taylor, and he plays John Keller in this movie. So he plays one of the older characters that saw Karen disappear.
But he was in the original. He told us some really interesting stories about shooting with Betty Davis and some of the things he had to say about it.
We almost got Kyle Richards.
Well, we didn't go that way. We decided to go in a different direction for the mom.
Now, you guys have done so much together as mom and daughter duo. What is something that you guys have learned from each other?
Oh, I've never been asked that before.
Yeah, me neither.
I guess I learned to stand up for myself because she was always standing up for me. And then there were days when I was on sets that she wasn't on, and I had to do it myself. Like the earmuff story.
What's the earmuff
Oh,
story?
I didn't tell that to this group. That was the last group. I was on a movie, and there was a producer. So we'd been producing together since '94. Sabrina, since before Sabrina, and for the first Sabrina movie. And there's projects that I just act in, and I'm an actor for hire, and there's others that I produce, there's others that direct. But there was this one movie that I was just an actor in, and got in a huge fight with the producer because I wanted to wear earmuffs. We were shooting outside. I had a terrible cold. I was afraid it was going to become an ear infection. We were going to be shooting outside all night, and I wanted earmuffs in the scene. And I thought they were cute with my little outfit. My character's a little quirky. And she refused. No, they're stupid. You can't do it. It looks ridiculous. You're not wearing earmuffs. And I said, do you want me to have an ear infection, shut down production for 5 days, or you want to let me wear the freaking earmuffs? So we got in this huge fight. So ever since then, I produce, so I can wear my earmuffs. But
no, we're actually a really good team. We don't always get along. She has what she needs. I have to do what I have to do. And we work really well together. We've always learned how to talk to each other, and
we're still learning them.
Yeah, because we fight.
Well, on the movie SantaCon, we got in some big, all-out brawls.
Because, we finance these movies ourselves, and she needs what she needs as a director, and
I want to
only
make
give
it
her
look
certain
good,
things.
and she
I
has
gotta
a
make
budget
it cheap,
for,
so we got to compromise.
It's definitely yin and yang.
We've learned compromise. That's what we have learned.
We have time for one last question. Yes. This is pretty much for everyone on the panel. What was your favorite part about being a part of this Watching the Woods project?
Oh gosh, the whole experience of it,
everything
from casting to sound design, like it was really fun. It was fabulous. It's been an absolute dream of mine.
This has been going on for almost 20 years for us.
Yeah.
So this is something to finally get it done. This is a dream come true.
And just seeing the finished product, it's like
it's an amazing move.
It's like planning your wedding and then seeing your wedding day and being like, oh my god, it worked! It was all perfect. It's so pretty. What about you?
I'll speak for myself. That as a screenwriter, I'm pretty solitary guy. My stock line is I became a writer so I wouldn't have to talk to people. And my favorite part was literally being handed a solid project I knew could be a beautiful gothic tale, and that when you find yourselves, quite frankly, in the hands of people who know what they're doing, who've earned their stripes far before I ever thought about even getting to film school. I learned a tremendous amount about the development process from Paula and Melissa, and through the treatments and the script. When you finally go to script and you know what you're doing because you've been there every step of the way. My job was pretty much done when they landed in Wales, and that's a good feeling. So that was my favorite part.
And we did all the post-production, and we loved every minute of it, from the rough cut right through the color correction and the special effects. It was just cool to kind of recreate this 1980s movie to something that was new.
And I wish you guys could see more of the special effects and see what he did to it.
A lot of stuff here you're not going to see.
I mean,
It's hidden.
like there's a tree that does a lot of fun stuff. There's other realms we visit. There's a lot of different color timing and a lot of different stuff. Just even the
Sound
day
design.
for night.
Sound
Yeah, the
design is
sound,
amazing.
the sound
You know,
design's great.
with movies like this, sound is huge. If you watch it without sound, it's like, okay, it's a big deal.
The first
But,
cut
you
we
know,
did, everyone's like, it's not scary. We're like, there's no sound.
And the
Slow down.
The music too. The music is
The music is
terrific.
beautiful.
So you see the things that make you jump are mostly sound. You know, 'cause
And
you're-
lighting. You know, a single source light always helps.
but you hear something, you're like, oh, you know. So did you get to see the first 12 minutes that you guys weren't in the panel?
In the panel.
Oh, because they showed the first 12 minutes, and that there's one moment in the beginning where somebody kind of just appears. She was off camera, and then she appears, but there's a great sound to it.
When
And
you cut it, it's one girl
everybody
going like this and another woman just being there. But when you hear the sound and the and her breath and the whole thing, it's all together. Then all of a sudden you're like, oh, what's she doing there? But that's Hitchcock. You know, that's like a Hitchcock. That's like traditional.
Yeah, it is, but it's so much fun to do that.
But it's so much fun to do. Actually, we got a lot of birds in this movie. That was one of the things. I got all these like in England. Yeah, there's a lot of birds and a lot of animals. We got a lot of dogs from people like the people
lot of
that owned
sheep.
a lot of the houses. Oh my god, we had like hundreds of sheep. We had to cut a lot of those out and horses. But the birds,
Cows.
so they had these homing pigeons. So I really wanted birds to be released in front of the window. So when she opens up the shutters, these birds fly by. And so we got real birds from a homing pigeon place. So they had to release the birds and exercise them once in a while. So they'd be like, we'll come, bring the birds. And
then
they would open up a case
Andrew
of-
made them better.
he had to make them.
digitally create more birds.
Yeah.
Then we had to turn the pigeons into crows.
So yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh, here's footage of pigeons. Turn them into crows.
Some of them were camera shy, and we had to add a few more. But like, you know, there's even the sound effect of the as they go past the window is like, like what are they doing there? Oh my God. But it was fun. That was fun because this woman showed up with her birds and just would like every time we said action, she'd like open the cage and they fly.
But then they fly home.
They fly home. They had to go home.
You know, then
It's a
you
one
gotta
take.
find. Yeah, you
They
had
race
three-
them.
we
They
had
would
three
race them.
cages of pigeons.
Which one would get home first? Yeah.
Put little notes on their little legs.
Well, they had GPS.
They did. They had GPS.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, you guys.
Thank
Thank you.
Yeah.